What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about some games I've been playing recently on the Nintendo Switch 2, plus a few sleeper picks for February that I think are absolutely worth it. Some of the games are demos, some are classics, and some completely surprised me, but all of them have been great experiences on the Switch 2 so far. So let's jump right in. The first game I want to talk about is Pragmata, and this one really caught me off guard. Right away when you boot it up, you're given two difficulty options, casual and standard. I went with standard, and honestly the first thing that stood out to me wasn't even the combat, it was how good the game looks and feels on the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't know the exact frame rate here, but I would generally be shocked if it wasn't running at 60 frames per second. It feels that smooth. Huge props to the developers for how well this game is optimized on this platform, especially considering how visually impressive it still is. Gameplay wise, Pragmata is an action game with strong puzzle elements layered into the combat. You play as Hugh and you're joined by Diana, who becomes a core part of how you engage enemies. A lot of the enemies have shields or armor, and instead of just shooting non-stop, Diana can hack enemies to expose weak points. Once that weakness is revealed, you're free to unload and take them down. It takes a minute to get used to, but once it clicks, it feels really intuitive and surprisingly fluid. Combat can get pretty hectic, especially when multiple enemies are on screen. You're juggling, shooting, hacking, dodging, and positioning, but it never feels overwhelming, just really well designed. There's also a hover mechanic that drains stamina, a dodge system that feels super responsive, and some light environment puzzle solving where Diana can hack doors or systems to help you progress. One thing I really appreciate is that the game feels fairly linear, and honestly that's refreshing with so many open world games these days. I've really been enjoying the tighter, more focused experiences that emphasize gameplay and story. All the footage you're seeing here is handheld gameplay, and even with a lot happening on screen, performance holds up incredibly well. Load times are quick, controls feel responsive, and visually, the lighting, corridors, and overall atmosphere are really satisfying. There's a main weapon with regenerating ammo, plus strong weapons that require you to find ammo, which adds a nice layer of strategy. This is one of the first AAA games where I'm genuinely debating picking it up on the Nintendo Switch 2 before the PS5, which is kind of wild to say, but here we are. Okay, the next game I somehow completely missed back in the Game Boy Advance days is WarioWare Inc. If you have access to the Nintendo Switch Online and possibly the expansion pack, this is an easy recommendation. The game is built around rapid fire micro games thrown at you at one after another at an increasing pace. Most of them are super simple, but the real magic here is the presentation. The humor, the art style, the music, it's peak GBA era creativity. Each level has its own theme and characters, and one of my favorite parts is actually the level introductions. They're full of weird, funny little stories that set the tone before throwing you into the chaos. You've got 4 little gauges, and as you progress, the speed ramps up fast. Your goal is to survive long enough to reach the boss stage, which cranks the difficulty up even more. I just love how unpredictable the game is. It keeps you on your toes the entire time, and honestly, it still feels fresh. I could absolutely see Nintendo doing a modern WarioWare style game on the Switch 2, maybe even something semi-open world where you discover mini games organically. Definitely a sleeper pick. Another GBA game I've been revisiting is Super Mario Advance, and this one is special for a lot of reasons. This one was one of the first Mario games I remember playing where you could choose different characters, each with their own abilities. Peach was always my go-to because of her glide. It just made platforming feel smoother. The art style is completely different from traditional Mario games, and that's because this actually isn't a traditional Mario game. It's a reskin of a Japanese title called Yumi Kojo Doki Doki Panic, which was adapted for a Western audience. Because of that, it feels very different from other Mario entries, and honestly a bit more challenging too. I've always found this to be one of the tougher Mario games. If you've never played it and want something that feels familiar but also totally different, I highly recommend giving Super Mario Advance a shot. Next is a game I randomly stumbled upon while browsing demos, Back to the Dawn. This one surprised me a lot. It's essentially a prison survival simulation where you choose a character and are thrown into a structured prison system with day and night cycles, meal times, routines, and consequences. The twist? Everyone is an animal and the pixel art style is fantastic. You're managing multiple systems, health, stamina, mental state while scavenging resources, building relationships with other inmates, and slowly uncovering what's really going on. There's combat, reputation systems, and branching story elements depending on how you play. It's very much a survival sim with narrative depth. I do want to mention this game is not for kids. There are strong adult themes and language, so fair warning for parents. If you're into simulation games with a unique concept and strong art direction, this is absolutely worth checking out. The last game I want to talk about is F-Zero X on the Nintendo 64. You'll need the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack for this one, but for me, it's pure nostalgia. This is the F-Zero game I grew up with, released back in 1998, and it still holds up as one of the most fast, chaotic, and intense arcade racers out there. The speed is unreal, the tracks are brutal, and if you're not careful, you will crash out and retire fast. I was always a big fan of the Mighty Gazelle and the Red Gazelle, and the character designs, music, and overall vibe are still incredible. If you're a fan of arcade racers, or just want something fast and unforgiving, you really can't go wrong with any F-Zero title, but F-Zero X will always be a personal favorite. And that's going to do it for this video. These are some of the games I've been playing recently and a few sleeper picks for February on the Nintendo Switch 2 that I think deserve more attention. Let me know in the comments, what have you been playing recently, and are there any Switch 2 demos or games you want me to check out? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.